Now, of course you may be wondering, what does the title of this video mean? Well, I'll tell you. For normal purposes, I usually put Caleb Reviews and then the title of the movie or TV show in the title of my review videos. But for this one, instead of the name of the cartoon, I put in capital letters, the worst cartoon of all time. And some of you may also be wondering, why did I do that? Well, I had a goal. May I say that whenever I see a clip of this cartoon in a review from such reviewers as Fandom Strider, I want everyone who has watched these reviews, or even the cartoon, to recognize this as the worst cartoon of all time. And the one that I am talking about is called Ren and Stimpy Adult Party Cartoon. Now, if you don't know about this one, I'll tell you. This one is a short-lived, adult-oriented spin-off of the Ren and Stimpy show. And unlike the Ren and Stimpy show, which received acclaim from critics and audiences despite being a controversial show, this cartoon was far more poorly received. Of course, the question you may be asking right now is, why did you decide to review this show? Well, the reason why is because some people at my grade 10 school, Salisbury, thought I was being a bad person. But that's not true. Heck, this was even coming out of Family Guy episodes like Brian Wright's a bestseller and Brian's a bad father. Anyway, on with the review. Here is a brief scene of footage from the episode Ren Seeks Help. Now, when it comes to TV shows that are considered the worst, I just don't see some of them to be this bad. Well, I didn't mind Barney and Friends, that was okay. I didn't mind Pickle and Peanut either, that was also fine to me despite the negative reviews it received. But as for Caillou, Shnikes, that was terrible. That character was such a shameless whiner. Even the original book series managed to be better than the actual cartoon. Yeah, I remember seeing some negative reviews for some of these shows by Fandom Strider. But two other cartoons that I consider some of the worst include Breadwinners and Fanboy and Chum Chum. These ones are just basically yelling and they never shut up. They're constantly going throughout without giving anyone who has watched these shows a moment of respite. I thought these two were tied for the worst cartoon ever. But that all changed when I encountered Ren and Stimpy Adult Party Cartoon. Yes, I'm 16, but I'm nearing my adulthood. I'm mature, this cartoon is mature. In fact, the description that Fandom Strider gave to me is, "This is a cartoon worse than modern Family Guy." But that's only in his opinion. I personally think that even the newer seasons of Family Guy are quite interesting. Like, when people watched this cartoon, they were terrified, they were disgusted, and they were shocked at how mean-spirited it is. They called it the cartoon that should never exist. In fact, if it never existed, this is what you would get in the opening sequence of Phineas and Ferb if the unicorn turtle scene were actually a running gag. Discovering something that doesn't exist. So after watching Ren Seeks Help, oh sugar honey iced tea.
Oh sugar honey iced tea.
Yep, I think Phantom Strider was right. I haven't seen a lot of Breadwinners or Fanboy and Chum Chum, though I consider them bad cartoons, but I'm actually really sure that this is worse than these two, by far. Now, how is this the worst cartoon of all time? Well, I've got a bad feeling about this, but let's dive in. Taking a look at Ren Seeks Help, let's talk about the story since I don't want to have to talk about the entire show. The episode starts off with Stimpy sobbing in fear for a certain amount of time, and blaming Ren for being mean to him.
You monster! How can you say those horrible things to me?
Well, that's basically it. Ren just becomes so unlikable in this episode that even the original Ren Hoek was more interesting than this. And then we see Ren leaving the house in depression and then going to get psychiatric help from Mr. Horse. As soon as we go into Mr. Horse's room, Ren explains all his darkest secrets to him, and in these flashbacks, we see Ren torturing all the animals. Ren then goes on trying to kill a frog, and for some reason, his parents are a little bit upset at him. Are we really supposed to be feeling sorry for Ren in this show? The short answer is no. This Ren deserves to burn in the fiery pit. The fiery pit, which is also a less vulgar way of saying hell, as Claude Frollo says in The Hunchback of Notre Dame, just before he falls to his death.
And he shall smite the wicked and plunge them into the fiery pit.
But anyway, on with the episode. And this scene of Ren's mother about to puke just virtually nauseated me. And then, after all these are explained, Mr. Horse tells Ren that he's crazy.
You're crazy! That's what's wrong with you!
And the part that makes Ren more unlikable is the one where he attacks Mr. Horse until he's dead. The episode ends with Ren getting arrested by animal control and the frog committing suicide. This is by far the worst storyline ever that ever came out of a cartoon. It's like, what the bone am I watching? There's nothing funny about the episode. The jokes are all terrible. None of them hit. It's just total trash. And when we get to the characters, oh shnikes, Ren's my new nightmare now. But that's everything about the story. Now, let's talk about the animation. Now, I thought the animation of Fanboy and Chum Chum was terrible, and the animation of Breadwinners was bad. But compared to the Ren and Stimpy show, which has a decent animation style, the animation of Adult Party cartoon is so the worst to ever be put in an animated series. Just the designs that are brought up visually would make anyone question how any millennial would think this animation is acceptable to air on television. The character designs are coarser and extremely unwatchable, the backgrounds are horrendous, and the imagery is the most disgusting since that in Family Guy's Herpy the Love Sore. But despite the imagery of herpes, that episode, well, it's a fine choice for me. As well as all the characters looking different from the original show, the colors are all these dark tinges of puke, they're all these washed out browns and bloody reds. At least Caillou had a good set of colors, but Ren and Stimpy Adult Party cartoon has the most unappealing color scheme I've ever seen in an animated series. Gee, I'm getting cold. I better put on my sweater.
12 seconds later.
There, that's better. And as for the ending part of Ren Seeks Help, we get this spoof of the That's All Folks ending card that appears at the end of many Warner Brothers cartoons. Like, how in the right mind would anyone put this at the end of the worst cartoon ever? Even the animation inside the red hole is terrible. All of this would come out of the fiery pit or somewhere, But this animation I find outright unforgivable. Even the animation on the original show managed to be better than this. This nightmare has also been considered to be far worse than the nightmare that some people say is the THX logo, or in this case, the Deep Note. But no, to me, the logo has nothing upon the scarily bad designs of the animation of Ren and Stimpy Adult Party cartoon. This is the worst animation John Kricfalusi has ever brought out. But I'd rather take all that out to the trash than deal with this part of the show. And finally, let's take a look at the characters. If there's one thing that I am shocked about this cartoon, it's that, like I mentioned before, it's actually mean-spirited. There are no likable characters in this show. Like, all of them are unlikable, especially Ren. In fact, go look at Ren Seeks Help, and you will be scared of Ren when he attacks Mr. Horse. I have to admit that Ren is more likable than this one when I see him in the Ren and Stimpy show. Yes, for this cartoon, I have a new nightmare named Ren Hoek. If he were this bad, I think he would be Satan's pet chihuahua. He's like, I know how to make things better for you, Stimpy. Just scam me in the freaking heart, and then I'll become more evil to you, you idiot! But he scams Mr. Horse in the heart and kills him off. And one major element that I would like to add about the characters is that, compared to the original, the voice acting is just annoyingly terrible. And that's the thing with the characters. The characters are unlikable, the acting is bad, and as you take a glance at these characters, you will have the symptoms of horror because you know something bad is going to happen to you throughout the episode when it starts to make you physically sick. Ren is the warning sign that the bad stuff he does is going to happen. Why? Boy, I need to calm down for a moment. You know, when executives first brought cartoons to television, did they believe that such a detestable, empty, worthless nightmare could come to life? There are absolutely no other words I can use to describe this show. Not even bad, terrible, abysmal, horrendous, forgettable, ugly, nasty, or stupid. The only word I can use to describe Ren and Stimpy Adult Party cartoon is unholy. It's bone-forsaking unholy. And if I were Frollo, I would be executing this cartoon instead of Esmeralda.
It is my sacred duty to send this unholy demon back where it belongs.
This cartoon should be illegal. I don't know what to say about this, but he did it. John Kricfalusi actually succeeded in ruining his most controversial cartoon series by making a pointless and scary adult spin-off. When watching this, I feel like I must get rid of this within this minute because it's just unholy and illegal. This is one I should never watch in my entire lifespan. And fortunately, this was cancelled after 6 fully produced episodes due to absolute bombing and being critically panned. This isn't even a comedy at all. A comedy is always meant to be funny. The average adult comedy, like all comedies, would have a whole lot of something that is for laughs. Like the mean-spirited characters, the bad animation, the gross humor, the shameless storylines. This is all to laugh at? I can't even say stuff like, is there something wrong with your mind? Because the answer is yes. John went insane and ruined everything by creating a nightmarish adult spin-off of his controversial cartoon, and it clearly shows by looking at this. But enough with the jibber jabber. Here's the rating of this. As the absolute worst cartoon I've ever seen, it pretty much deserves the lowest rating anyone could ever slap in any review I make about a certain form of media. The story of Ren Seeks Help gets a 1 out of 10 for being mean-spirited. The animation gets a 1 out of 10 for not paying any homage to the original material. The animation looks like the original, yes, but it's the quality of the animation that's just garbage. And as for the characters, 1 out of 10 of course, because all of them are cruel and unlikable. I never want to see any of these characters again unless I'm watching the original Ren and Stimpy cartoon. Adult Party Ren scares me, he's cruel and violent to everyone in this junk pile. Oh, I just loathe this show. Please do not show me these versions of the characters ever again. They horrify me. When they're part of this cartoon, nothing good can come out of them. I never want to see them again. I'm better off looking for them in the original. So, in total, Ren and Stimpy Adult Party cartoon gets a low of 1 out of 10, of course, with the first ever Dirksen seal of absolute trash. Just one big seal of trash covering this entire show. Now, not only is this a review, but this is also a warning. A warning to anyone who is watching this. Never watch this cartoon. Whatever you do, don't even think about watching Ren and Stimpy Adult Party cartoon. Go watch the original Ren and Stimpy show instead. By watching this show, you're encouraging the continued storm out of rotten, unholy, manipulative dribble that does everything it can to insult you. This thing should be banned everywhere. It must be illegal. If you ever find Adult Party cartoon on your computer, delete it, move it to the trash can, empty the trash can, make sure the computer you own is clean from it. If you actually see a DVD copy of this show, burn it in a pit of fire. Completely burn it so that it never sees the light of day again. And if you think that Ren and Stimpy Adult Party cartoon is actually a good show, you're pathetic! I'm sorry, but this is true. It's time to wake up. You need some mental help. Go find a psychiatrist like Ren did in Ren Seeks Help. Or you may be high on drugs or something, like snap out of it! If you're gonna argue with me, all of this would make whatever you say about this show invalid. So my conclusion to this review is no matter what, never watch this show. Never ever watch Ren and Stimpy Adult Party cartoon. If you think about doing it, I swear to heavens, you will always regret it. And I will apologize, but it's your fault. Don't say I didn't warn you. Never watch this cartoon. If there's one thing to take out of this, never go anywhere near Ren and Stimpy Adult Party cartoon. There's no doubt at all. We knew this already. Ren and Stimpy Adult Party cartoon is the worst cartoon of all time. And with that said, I think I've had enough with this talk about Adult Party cartoon because, though I'm not trying to be disgusting, all of this stuff is a garbage sandwich that's too big for one mouthful. I think it's about time that I move on to the light side and turn away from the dark side, where Darth Vader is. The next review I do will be much better. If you have any suggestions for my next review, leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. But anyway, that's all for this video. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to feel the power of Dirksen. Dirksen power.